I've been dreading spending time with this Nokia 9210 communicator because of how broken it is. I don't remember when I got this, meaning it was probably given to me for free. I do remember trying this out though, but it didn't power up. I also vaguely remember the backlight on the main screen briefly flickering and going black. This indicated to me that something was very wrong inside this phone. So I've been putting it off for a long time. I have noticed though that when plugging in the charger, it does beep, and it shows a random dot pattern on the outside display. So while this doesn't power up, it is at least doing something. But I've also noticed that the random dot pattern is not so random. In fact, it's always exactly the same pattern. This indicates it's probably not a faulty connection somewhere inside causing an intermittent problem. It's likely to be some faulty logic inside the phone. Possibly even one of the chips has been damaged, which is basically a worst case scenario. Though I have noticed that if I shine a really bright light onto the main inner display, we can see that this phone is in fact actually working, or at least the computer part of the phone is working. This side of the phone is actually an independent system from the rest of the phone. I may not be able to get this working as a phone, but maybe I can still explore this as a computer. So it's time to open this up and have a look inside. Of course, getting all the screws out will help for getting this apart. There's the main board. Maybe a bit simpler than I was expecting. The inside seems a bit dusty, and there's a small amount of corrosion on the inside casing, but nothing looks badly damaged. There's just a small double-sided main board inside. It's certainly a lot smaller than the two boards that I found inside the previous communicator model, which ran an AMD 486 CPU that I have explored in a previous video. That large chip in the middle looks like the main CPU, which in here is called Mad Linda. I wonder who Nokia named this after. Taking a guess at the rest, and it looks like there are two Intel RAM chips. There's also a disk on a chip. These mirrored surfaces are actually really hard to see. I have to get the light at just the right angle. This looks like a Samsung chip, possibly some flash memory. The other side of the board looks like it's all power supply and RF related circuitry. So let's have a look inside the front section and see what's going on here. Very nice. I like the way this looks inside. It's really got that late 90s, early 2000s feel. I'll just very carefully get all these ribbon cables unplugged. Okay, there's the back of the main screen. And there's some weird corrosion on just one pin of each ribbon cable. That seems a bit odd. The front board itself has much less going on chip-wise. That Epson IC is likely an LCD controller, and there's also a lot of passive components, while the other side is almost completely empty. I'll clean this up a bit and get as much of this dust and corrosion out as possible. Looking at that display again, and it looks like the backlight itself is coming in through these four contacts. And where they connect to on the front board, it looks like there's some power supply components right next to them, including a coil and a nice big capacitor. And this white thing, I have no idea what this is. So let's have a closer look at this backlight and see what we can find out. And I'm starting to spot in here there's a glass tube. I definitely need to get this out and have a closer look. And yep, there it is. This is a cold cathode compact fluorescent tube. I was not expecting this, a phone with a fluorescent tube inside. This is very cool, it's very weird, and kind of scary. Fixing this is going to be really difficult. Fluorescent tubes were actually fairly common inside many laptops in the 1990s. But to see one inside a phone is very unusual. I can't think of any other phone that is likely to have used fluorescent backlighting at all. This could actually be the only phone to have ever used a fluorescent tube. If you know of any others, then do let me know. These were not used in phones because they used a lot of power. There were some handheld devices that used fluorescent backlighting, such as the Atari Lynx and other portable game consoles that used backlit colour displays. These colour LCD TVs from the 90s also used them. Also, the very first colour screen Palm PDA used a fluorescent backlight. I've never tried powering this up, and something I want to have a closer look at one day. This phone was released in 2001, right on the cusp of high brightness white LEDs coming to market. Nokia must have been designing this phone just before white LEDs became available, and missed that opportunity by mere months.
Nokia, connecting people.
Now, it could be this fluorescent tube is faulty, but the service manual also describes the piezo element as a potential cause. This helps generate the extremely high frequency AC current that powers the tube. Or maybe the power supply circuit on the boards are faulty. But the question is, with no replacement parts available, how am I going to get this backlight working again? Well, since I have a large amount of really broken crap, such as this very smashed up iPhone 5, I'm going to see if I can get the white LED backlight out of this iPhone and transplant it into the Nokia. There's definitely some bad corrosion going on in here, but let's get to the backlight and see what we've got. Carefully tearing the layers apart, and there it is. A neat row of white LEDs, just what I'm looking for. I need to very carefully get these out of here. They're on a very thin ribbon cable. Hopefully these do a decent enough job of replacing the tube. I'll just carefully solder some wires onto this, and we'll connect them up to power and see if they work. And it looks like they need at least 10 volts to power up, likely because they would be connected in series to each other. I'm going to just randomly glue these into place and see how well this works. Turning on the LEDs, and the screen is indeed now at least lighting up. Okay, cool. If you're wondering how I'm going to actually hook up this backlight to power from inside the phone, then while I do think it would be possible to do that, for testing, I'm going to start this process by continuing to run the backlight from the external power source. I'm just going to reassemble the phone enough to get it turning on and see what we get. And there we go. It works. I can now see the main screen, and it looks great. It's a really nice high-resolution 640 by 200 pixel colour LCD. No wonder this phone cost so much when it was new in 2001. It was probably the equivalent of $3,000 to $4,000 today. This really was the Apple Galaxy Super Pro Double Premium Executive phone in its day. This phone is running an early version of Symbian. I'm really keen to explore this version. It's got quite a nice user interface, all designed exclusively for landscape mode, of course. There are all sorts of menu functions and installed software. There's lots of settings to mess about with. I am having one problem though. The 4 soft buttons next to the screen are not working. Since these soft buttons are located on the front board, I wonder if this is a problem related to the logic error and the outside of the phone not turning on. Unfortunately, this is actually a huge problem, because it means I can't do the main thing I want to do with this phone, which is install Symbian software. Without the soft buttons, there's no way to bloody press the install button. And I looked, and I can't find any other way to install software without these buttons. Also, some of the installed software is likely to need these soft buttons to work. so they really are quite important. I am very disappointed that I can't go any further with this phone at the moment. But I am glad I got to have a look inside, and finding that fluorescent light was really interesting. I'm also very motivated to see more after these first glimpses of this version of the Symbian operating system. I can't wait to get better examples of these Nokia Communicator models into my hands. They do pop up from time to time, and I have been searching for more examples for a while. Unfortunately, I missed out on one locally that went for under $40, but I'll keep looking. And one day I'll find a working one or two, so I can explore this system further and some of that amazing software it can run. But such is the highlights and lowlights of doing digital archaeology. You never know what you might find.
Protect you and surround you with my love, as well as any man can, as well as any man.